While others cry for their parents when stranded on a deserted island, I go straight into vacation mode. All because hidden in the security uniform they mocked was an incredible artifact. As I leisurely blew out my first smoke ring, a dozen elites claiming assets over 10 million fought fiercely over half a pack of cookies. In the distance, the heiress of a wealthy family said with red eyes, "Can I have a puff?" My name is Lin Feng, a cruise ship security guard. When I woke up, I found myself lying on a beach, with a girl's voice in my ear, "Big brother, wake up." I coughed and sat up, seeing a baby face with big sparkling eyes. "Who are you?" "I'm Su Nan Nan, just call me Nan Nan." She was so happy to see me awake that she jumped around. I shook my head, memories of last night's luxury cruise ship being sucked into a super whirlpool slowly flooding back. There were over 1,000 people on the ship, but now only this girl is left. Around us are low trees. The coastline stretches endlessly left and right, and ahead is the boundless sea. We're stranded on a deserted island. I took Nan Nan along the coast to see if there were other survivors. Within 10 minutes, we were so thirsty our throats were burning. This place has nothing but sea and dead branches and leaves, not even a coconut tree. I was worrying when Nan Nan suddenly pointed to a distant reef area and shouted, "Big brother, look, there's something there." A black box was stuck in a crevice of the reef. I waded over and dragged it up. The box had a combination lock. Just as I was about to smash it open, Nan Nan took it and fiddled with it for less than a minute, and it clicked open. I praised her, and she lifted her face proudly. Of course, I'm a genius beauty. Inside the box, 2 men's black coats, a bundle of thin nylon rope, a pack of cigarettes, a golden windproof lighter, and a 20-centimeter long waterproof brocade box. I flicked the lighter, but it was damp and wouldn't light. Nan Nan opened the brocade box and let out a wow. It was a golden dagger with dragon and phoenix patterns carved on the sheath, exquisitely crafted. I pulled out the blade, looked at it, and tucked it into my waist. We spread the clothes on the rocks to dry. I told her to wait there while I went into the woods to find fresh water. The forest was full of dry branches and leaves, unable to hold water. After half an hour of searching, I found nothing, and a feeling of helplessness weighed on my chest. Then Nan Nan shouted again, "Big brother." I found 2 coconut trees. Following her pointing direction, I ran about 100 meters and indeed saw 2 coconut trees at the edge of the woods. When I was in the army, climbing poles was routine. A dozen-meter-high coconut tree was no challenge. I pulled out the dagger and cut down 5 or 6 coconuts. The dagger was incredibly sharp, cutting through the fiber layer like paper. We each carried 2 coconuts back. After drinking the coconut water, I felt alive again. But then my stomach started growling. I took Nan Nan to the reef area to find seafood, using a small stick to dig out an octopus from a rock crevice. We also picked up a bunch of small conches and mussels. Back in the woods, we piled up dry wood, flicked the lighter a few times, and this time it lit with a pop. The campfire blazed. We threw the conches and mussels in to roast, and skewered the octopus on a stick to grill. I used the dagger to carve 2 thin skewers and handed them to Nan Nan to pick out the conch meat. She kept blowing on them because they were hot, but couldn't stop eating. In the evening, the sunset dyed the sea orange-red. I went to collect the dried coats and broke some leaves to spread by the fire as a bed. Nan Nan gathered a big pile of dry branches nearby. At night, the temperature dropped to around 10 degrees Celsius, and she curled up on the leaves shivering. I draped one coat over her and moved closer to let her near the fire. Late at night, I lit a cigarette and stared blankly at the campfire. Would rescue come? If not, how would we survive next? The next day at dawn, the campfire was just ashes, but the charcoal underneath was still red. I grabbed a handful of dry leaves, blew on them, and the fire reignited. Nan Nan woke up, and I handed her a coconut with an opening. She wrapped herself in the coat and smiled at me. "Thank you, big brother." I used the dagger to sharpen a wooden stick into a fish spear. At the reef area, we only found a few small conches. To get full, we'd need to go into deeper waters. I walked to the end of the reef and dove into the seabed 7 or 8 meters deep. Fish swam among the coral clusters. Suddenly, I saw 2 long antennae sticking out from a rock crevice. Getting closer, I saw it was a large lobster. I aimed the fish spear and thrust it in, piercing it directly. I surfaced for air and swam back to shore. When Nan Nan saw the large lobster hanging on the spear, she jumped up and screamed, "Wow, a big lobster. Big brother is amazing." We roasted the lobster and peeled it, revealing steaming white, tender meat. We each took half. Nan Nan chewed with her eyes closed, her face full of satisfaction. After eating, I packed the clothes into the box and continued upward with her. This spot wasn't suitable for long-term waiting for rescue. Along the way, I picked up 2 mineral water bottles and put them in the box, telling her to collect any bottles or jars we saw, in case we found a freshwater source to store water. When we reached the coconut trees, I climbed up again to pick a few more to take along. After walking along the coastline for over an hour, we rounded a big bend and saw a U-shaped bay ahead. At the innermost part stood a mountain peak several hundred meters high, with a patch of grass and a small forest at its foot, including over a dozen coconut trees. There were figures on the grass. Nanan suddenly ran off shouting, "Auntie!" She rushed to a beautiful woman in a long dress among the crowd, and they hugged tightly, Nanan crying her heart out. It turned out her aunt was Song Yinfei, who also survived the shipwreck. I dragged the box to the edge of the grass and looked around. On the grass, about a dozen people were sitting or lying down. Most looked at me with cold indifference. Some simply turned away as if they hadn't seen me. 2 men nearby were desperately trying to climb a coconut tree, but slipped down after several attempts. Song Yinfei pulled Nanan over and said flatly, "Hello, I'm Song Yinfei. Thank you for taking care of Nanan." Before I could respond, she took Nanan back to the group to talk. I didn't mind. I dragged the box to a small open space about a dozen meters uphill, sat down, and lit a cigarette. The scenery here was actually nice, if it were for tourism. As I was smoking, a woman with an oval face and a purple cheongsam walked over and gave me a charming smile. "Hi, can I have a cigarette?" I pulled one out and handed it to her, then lit it with my own cigarette. She took a deep drag, blew out a smoke ring, and winked at me. "Thanks." Then she turned and went back to the crowd. At that moment, 2 people sitting under the coconut tree exchanged glances. A somewhat sleazy-looking man stood up, walked to the middle of the grass, clapped his hands, and shouted, "Everyone, come over here. Since so many of us are trapped here, shouldn't we choose a leader to guide us while waiting for rescue?" People gradually gathered, chattering. Who among us knows wilderness survival? I've never even climbed a mountain. The sleazy man seized the opportunity. Brother Lu knows. Brother Lu participated in a survival show and won first place. He pointed to a big guy nearby, who smiled and walked over. "Everyone, rest assured. I guarantee I'll lead you to survive here until rescue comes." Nanan suddenly raised her hand and shouted, "Big brother knows." Big brother caught a big lobster in the sea. A few people glanced at me, but immediately someone sneered. "Look at his clothes. He's just a security guard. What qualifies him to lead us?" "Yeah, a lousy security guard? Aren't we all worth tens of millions? Who does he think he is?" I kept smoking without saying a word. That guy named Lu who was elected captain, and the sleazy man Fan Tienda led the chanting, with everyone echoing. Lu who announced proudly, "Since you all trust me, hand over the supplies you've collected so I can distribute them fairly and justly." Fan Tienda was the first to pull out a waterproof backpack, pouring out a few bottles of water, cookies, and such. Others hesitated, but then went to the woods to retrieve their suitcases and backpacks. Soon, a pile of items was gathered in the middle of the grass. Instant noodles, knives and forks, cosmetics, folding umbrellas, toothbrushes, and a short-handled axe. Lu Hu also dragged out his suitcase, which contained a few bottles of water. There was also a Nepalese kukuri over a foot long, with fish scale patterns on the back of the blade, gleaming coldly. He gathered the food and water together and sorted the daily necessities separately. With just this little food and drink, 14 people couldn't last 2 days. Fan Tienda walked up to me and said arrogantly, "Hey, why don't you bring your suitcase over?" I exhaled a puff of smoke, looked at him calmly, and said, "I'm used to being alone. I don't plan to join you." "Humph, don't come begging us later." Fan Tienda snorted and turned away. From the crowd came a few murmurs like "ungrateful" and "serves him right." I smiled, got up, dragged my suitcase 20 meters uphill, and slipped into the woods. I found a small flat area, broke off some branches to sweep the ground clean, and started building a shelter. In the evening, Fan Tienda distributed supplies below, 1 bottle of water for 5 people, along with a few biscuits or instant noodles. I walked out of the woods carrying a fish spear, jumped onto that familiar rock, and plunged into the sea. In less than 2 minutes, I surfaced with a 2-pound red sea bream on my spear. As night fell, I sat by the campfire I had built, eating grilled fish and drinking coconut water, and even had a cigarette afterward. Below, those people sat around several campfires, some glancing in my direction. Fan Tienda sidled up to Song Yinfei to curry favor, offering half a bottle of water, but she politely refused. Lu Hu and Fan Tienda whispered to each other, occasionally glancing towards Su Nan Nan. On the morning of the 3rd day, sunlight streamed into the bay. As I walked to the seaside with my fish spear, Lu Hu's group was splashing around in the shallows trying to catch fish. I again dove into the deep sea from the rock. When I surfaced, my spear had a large lobster and a big conch. As I walked past them, someone stared at the lobster and swallowed hard. They had been busy for 2 hours, but only found a few small conchs and a sea cucumber. Su Nan Nan threw the biscuit in her hand to the ground. I don't want to eat this. I want meat. I want lobster. Song Yinfei coaxed her. Nan Nan, be good. Eat this, and when we get back, Annie will take you to a hotel for a big meal. Before she could finish, Nan Nan had already run toward me. I want to go find Big Brother. Song Yinfei tried to pull her back, but the Cheongsam-clad woman Lu Yun stopped her and said with a slight smile, let her go. That security guard isn't as bad as you think. Or is it that you look down on him? Song Yinfei opened her mouth but couldn't say a word. I handed the grilled lobster meat to Nan Nan, and she ran back holding it up. Annie, look. Big Brother gave it to me. The people around looked at the biscuits and instant noodles in their hands, their expressions sour. Someone started muttering. Didn't the captain say he was good at survival? How come he hasn't caught any lobster? Yeah, at least he could catch some fish. Lu Hu felt embarrassed. He picked up the Nepalese kukuri, went into the woods to cut a sapling, sharpened a fish spear, and headed to the seaside. But standing on the shore, looking at the rolling waves, his face turned pale. Fan Tienda followed and asked, Brother Lu, can you do it? Lu Hu swallowed hard. The waves are too big. I'll wait until they calm down. He turned and came back. In the afternoon, the sun was scorching and everyone hid in the woods. Song Yinfei kept glancing at the sea, her eyes full of anticipation and anxiety. This time, Lu Hu finally managed to catch a 1-pound sea fish at the shore and came back triumphantly holding his fish spear. When the fish was cooked, Lu Hu and Fan Tienda took the first bites, and the rest swarmed in. The fish was gone in an instant. Those who didn't get any gradually showed resentment on their faces. A young man named Yang Jun climbed a coconut tree and cut down many coconuts, solving the drinking water problem. Lu Hu praised him a few times, then turned and saw me sitting on the grass nearby smoking. Fan Tienda lowered his voice. Brother Lu, that guy has quite a few cigarettes. Lu Hu frowned. Go ask him for a few. If he won't give them. Fan Tienda understood and, with a lewd smile, walked toward me. Brother, what's your name? I'm Fan Tienda. He approached me with a flattering smile and crouched beside me. I glanced at him and didn't respond. It's like this. I see you smoking all day, and I wanted to ask you for a few to satisfy my craving. I flicked the ash from my cigarette and uttered 2 words. Don't have any. Fan Tienda's face immediately fell. Just a few cigarettes. No need to be like this. I said I don't have any. I stood up, looking down at him. He was a head shorter than me, and under my stare, he clearly backed down, but he still blustered. I'm talking to you nicely. Don't be ungrateful. I threw my cigarette butt to the ground, stepped on it, looked at him with a smile, and said, I do have cigarettes, but I just won't give them to you. What can you do about it? Fan Tienda's face flushed bright red, and he took a step back. Just then, footsteps sounded behind me. Lu Hu came over with 2 men, smiling insincerely. Brother, no need for that. It's just asking for a few cigarettes. I swept my eyes over them, my tone full of sarcasm. What? If I don't give them, are you going to try to take them by force? At that moment, the others heard the commotion and also came over. Seeing more than a dozen people surrounding him, Lin Feng was not afraid at all. Kid, hand over the cigarettes nicely, or else with all of us together, we'll beat the crap out of you. Hee hee. Fan Tienda laughed loudly. That's right. Hand over the cigarettes now. A burly man stepped forward and pointed at Lin Feng, shouting, Humph. Lin Feng sneered, suddenly reached out, grabbed the man's finger, and twisted it hard. Ah! The man immediately screamed in pain and knelt on one knee. Bang! Lin Feng kicked out, sending him flying several meters away. Xiaomeng, are you okay? A petite woman immediately ran over and shouted. Seeing Lin Feng so fierce, the onlookers immediately stepped back a few paces, all staring at him in shock. Everyone knew that Zhao Meng was the toughest here. I hate it most when people point fingers at me. Lin Feng said with a faint smile. It's not impossible to give you cigarettes, but you have to trade something for them. Lu Hu, who was about to lose his temper, suppressed his anger upon hearing Lin Feng's words and said, Oh, what do you want to trade? Lin Feng smiled slightly. I want that axe. I can trade 2 packs of cigarettes for it. How about it? Axe. Lu Hu frowned, not expecting Lin Feng to want that thing. Brother Lu, I think it's okay. That broken axe is useless to us. Fan Tienda said in a low voice. Rescue might come in a couple of days. Are we going to take that broken axe back with us? Lu Hu nodded slightly after hearing this. Fan Tianda was right. The axe was really useless to him. Fine. Lu Hu looked at Lin Feng and said, I agree. He turned to Fan Tianda and said, go get the axe. Fan Tianda immediately ran back into the woods to fetch it. Lin Feng glanced at Lu Hu and the others, then also went back into the woods. He opened his suitcase, took out 2 packs of cigarettes, and came out. He had only smoked 1 pack. There were still 9 left. Soon, Fan Tianda came back with the axe. Captain, isn't this axe public property? Why trade it for cigarettes? We don't smoke. Yeah, that doesn't seem fair. The men and women standing nearby began to complain, as they didn't smoke. What's all the noise about? I'm the captain, and I say it's fair. Lu Hu shouted at those who had spoken. It's just a broken axe. What use is it? You can't eat it. Hearing Lu Hu's roar, they cowered and lowered their heads, not daring to speak anymore. Fan Tianda ignored them and just brought the axe to Lin Feng, handing it over. Lin Feng smiled and nodded, handing the 2 packs of cigarettes to Fan Tianda. Lin Feng took the axe, looked it over, and weighed it in his hand. It was quite heavy, not bad. Lu Hu and his men glanced at Lin Feng, then turned and left. The surrounding crowd also dispersed. Song Yanfei pulled Su Nan, glanced at Lin Feng, and followed. Ah, satisfying. Fan Tianda took a deep drag of his cigarette, then slowly exhaled, even closing his eyes. The expression on his face was indescribably blissful. Lu Hu distributed 1 pack of cigarettes to those who smoked, 5 each, while he and Fan Tianda shared 1 pack. In the afternoon, Lu Hu made many fish spears and said he would teach them how to catch fish. The whole group went to the shallow water area. Lin Feng walked to the coconut tree, climbed up, and picked a few coconuts. He brought them back to the woods, chopped them open, and poured all the coconut water into 2 mineral water bottles. More than an hour later, Lu Hu and the others returned, having caught 3 sea fish. Brother Lu is really amazing. Finally, we have fish to eat tonight. I told you, Brother Lu's wilderness survival skills are very strong. Hearing everyone's words, Lu Hu suddenly felt great about himself. 3 sea fish, at least everyone can get a few bites, which is pretty good. At dusk, Lin Feng went to the sea again and caught an octopus. Fan Tianda and the others saw it and felt increasingly unbalanced. Why is this kid so lucky? He catches fish every time he goes out. Fan Tianda said indignantly. It's not that he's lucky. Maybe there are a lot of fish in that part of the sea. Zhao Ming also spoke up. Right, Brother Lu, why don't you follow him tomorrow? You're a good swimmer. Fan Tianda turned to Lu Hu and said, I'll try following him tomorrow. Lu Hu lowered his head, thought for a moment, and said, he didn't believe Lin Feng was a better swimmer than him. He could hold his breath underwater for 40 seconds. At night, Lu Hu smoked a cigarette, looking at Su Nanan's delicate doll-like face, and felt a surge of lust. He turned to look at Song Yanfei, who was chatting with Lu Yun and Yi Shui, while Su Nanan sat alone by the campfire, playing with a twig. Lu Hu rubbed his chin, stood up, and walked towards Su Nanan. Nanan he. Lu Hu walked over with a smile, crouched down, and said quietly, I have a doll over there. Do you want it? At first, Su Nanan didn't respond to Lu Hu, but when she heard about the doll, she immediately smiled. Where's the doll? Are you going to give it to me? Yeah, it's for you. The doll is in that grove. I'll take you there. Lu Hu smiled at Su Nanan. Go to the grove? I won't go. You go get it. Su Nanan shook her head upon hearing this. Come on, let's go get it together. Lu Hu grabbed Su Nanan's hand and tried to pull her toward the grove ahead. Let me go? I don't want it. Su Nanan tried to break free from Lu Hu's hand, but couldn't. Hearing Su Nanan's cries, Song Yanfei immediately ran back and shouted, Lu Hu, let go of my Nanan. What do you want? Seeing Song Yanfei approach, Lu Hu released Su Nanan and said with a slight smile, Nothing, I just wanted to take Nanan to get something to eat, At this moment, Lu Yun and Yi Shui also came over and looked at Lu Hu. Su Nanan ran to Song Yanfei's side, hugged her, and said aggrievedly, Auntie, he said he wanted to take me to the grove to give me a doll. I didn't want to go, but he forced me. Lu Hu, that's not right, is it? Even a child you won't spare. Yi Shui walked over and said to Lu Hu, Don't listen to her nonsense. I really meant well to take her for a snack. Lu Hu spread his hands innocently and said, If she doesn't want to eat, then forget it. After speaking, he turned and walked toward the campfire ahead. Nanan, it's okay. Song Yanfei pulled Su Nanan to sit by the campfire and comforted her. The people nearby saw it but dared not speak, pretending nothing had happened. Yanfei, you need to be careful. You two have been targeted. Lu Yun crouched down and whispered, Sister Yin, what do you mean? Song Yinfei didn't understand. Haven't you noticed? These past 2 days, Lu Hu, Fan Tianda, and Zhao Ming have been sneaking glances at you and Nan Nan. Lu Yin said quietly. It's not just the two of you. We've been targeted too. Yishui sat down and whispered. Hearing their words, Song Yinfei felt a chill. She had been too focused on watching the sea for ships these past 2 days to notice such things. The next morning, Lu Hu led everyone to the reef area by the seaside to catch fish. Oh, I need to go again. My stomach doesn't feel well either. I'm going back first. Soon, people ran back to camp because of stomach discomfort. What's wrong with them? Forget them, lazy bones with lots of crap. Lu Hu glanced at the four and said coldly. Song Yinfei and Lu Yun picked up fish spears, bent over, and checked the crevices for conch or crabs. At this moment, Fan Tianda and Zhao Ming stood behind them, secretly looking at their backsides. How about that? Not bad, huh? Hee. They're top-notch. The two whispered to each other, leering. Then, Song Yinfei and Lu Yun also felt their burning gazes and quickly moved to other places. In the woods, Lin Feng also felt his stomach a bit uncomfortable. It must be from drinking too much coconut water, which can easily cause diarrhea or bloating. Lin Feng frowned and muttered, No, if I get sick, it'll be a big problem. I need to leave here and find a place with fresh water. After getting up, Lin Feng immediately packed his things, picked up his fish spear, dragged his box out of the woods, and headed upward. Sister Yin, look. Yishui came over, pointed in Lin Feng's direction, and whispered, Lin Feng is leaving. Seeing Lin Feng about to leave, Lu Yun frowned. Let's go, we'll follow him. Staying here, I'm afraid we'll be devoured in a couple of days. Yishui nodded lightly upon hearing this. Lu Yun came to Song Yinfei, looked around, and when she saw no one, whispered, Yinfei, Yishui and I are going to join Lin Feng. Do you want to come? Join Lin Feng. Why? Song Yinfei asked puzzledly. Oh, you're so dense. If we stay here and Lu Hu and the others go wild and force themselves on us, what then? No one will be able to save us. Lu Yun quickly explained in a low voice. Would they dare? Song Yinfei frowned. She had never thought about this. She thought, with so many people here, would Lu Hu and the others really dare? Why wouldn't they dare? You saw last night, when he pulled Nan Nan to the grove, who spoke up? Lu Yun sneered. You have to understand where we are now. This is a deserted island. Even if they force us, how can we resist? Yinfei, are you coming with us or not? If not, Sister Yun and I are leaving. Yishui came over and whispered. Song Yinfei thought for a moment. If Lu Yun and Yishui both left, she would have no friends here, because she only got along with these two. If Lu Hu and the others made a move on her and Nan Nan, then maybe no one would help them. I'll go with you. After taking a deep breath, Song Yinfei said. Soon, Song Yinfei called Su Nan Nan over, and the four headed toward the camp. Yinfei, Yishui, where are you going? Seeing them return, Fan Tianda asked. We're thirsty, going back for some coconut water. Yishui replied over her shoulder. The four returned to the woods, grabbed a folding umbrella and a backpack, and quickly headed upward. Auntie, where are we going? Don't speak, just follow. The four turned a big bend and saw Lin Feng walking not far ahead. Lin Feng looked around and walked directly along the coastline. To the left was a mountain several hundred meters high, very steep, impossible to climb. Lin Feng, wait, big brother. As they walked, several voices came from behind. Lin Feng stopped and turned around, seeing Song Yinfei and the others. Why are you here? Lin Feng asked in surprise. We've come to join you. Lu Yun smiled slightly. Join me? Why? Lin Feng smiled slightly. I'm just a security guard. So what if you're a security guard? We don't look down on you. Lu Yun said. Big brother, I want to be with you. Su Nan Nan walked over and took Lin Feng's hand. Last night, Lu Hu tried to pull Nan Nan into the grove, but we found out. Yishui said. Lu Hu and his gang have bad intentions, so we came to join you. Lin Feng frowned upon hearing this. Is that so? He didn't expect Lu Hu and the others to be so despicable. If he had been there, he would have beaten them up without hesitation. You can join me, but you have to listen to me. Lin Feng said to Song Yinfei and the other two. Of course, not in the way you're thinking. I mean, in terms of actions, you have to follow my lead. The three looked at each other and nodded. Let's go. Seeing the three agree, Lin Feng turned and left. Where are we going? Yishui asked. Haven't you felt discomfort in your stomach these past 2 days? Lin Feng asked the three. The three shook their heads. Lu Yun suddenly remembered something. Oh, this morning, people might have had diarrhea. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. That's right, you know. Drinking too much coconut water can cause diarrhea or bloating. Getting sick here is basically waiting to die, because there's no medicine. That's why I decided to leave here and find a place with fresh water to settle down. Oh, I see. Song Yinfei nodded lightly. No wonder those four kept going into the woods this morning. The five of them walked along the coastline under the sun, moving much faster. Around noon, Lu Hu and his group returned to the camp, having caught 2 sea fish. Huh? Where are Lu Yun and the others? Lu Hu looked around and noticed that Lu Yun, Yi Shui, Song Yinfei, and Su Nannan were missing. Maybe they haven't come back yet? Zhao Meng said. Impossible, they came back very early. Fan Tianda said. Hong Tao, come here. Lu Hu called to a man ahead. Coming, Captain, what's up? Hong Tao walked over and asked. Did you see Lu Yun and Yi Shui? Oh, they went up that way. Hong Tao pointed upward. Lu Hu thought for a moment, suddenly felt something was wrong, and quickly stood up and ran over. Fan Tianda, Zhao Meng, and Hong Tao exchanged glances and followed. Sure enough, they had run off with Lin Feng. Arriving at the place where Lin Feng had stayed, it was already cleaned up and Lin Feng was gone. Go! After them. Lu Hu shouted, ran out of the woods, and immediately ran upward. After running for a while, they found no trace of Lin Feng and the others. That bastard. Taking away the women I had my eye on. Next time I run into him, I'll make him pay. Lu Hu roared around, venting his anger. Zhao Meng and the others also showed anger in their eyes. The 4 most beautiful women had left. How could they not be furious? Now, they wanted to tear Lin Feng apart. Lin Feng led Song Yinfei and the others, walking for half a day, to a sea area full of huge reefs. The seawater here was dark green, the waves were rough, and there were several large rocky mountains in the deep sea. The Rocky Mountains were eroded by seawater into small caves, which were used by seabirds for nesting. The seaside was full of strangely shaped huge reefs, and when the waves washed over, countless splashes were stirred up. The 5 sat on the reefs on the shore to rest, looking at the sea ahead. Lin Feng, what if we build a boat and go out to sea? Yi Shui gazed at the sea and asked. Lin Feng smiled slightly. We would be pushed by the ocean currents, drift in the vast sea, and eventually be overturned by huge waves, falling into the sea to feed the fish. By the way, why hasn't the rescue team come yet? Lu Yun asked the question in her mind. Lin Feng lowered his head and thought for a moment, then gave his answer. The cruise ship was sucked into a whirlpool. We might no longer be in that sea area, so they can't find us. Also, they might have already searched that area, found no clues, and assumed everyone on the cruise ship had perished. Song Yinfei's face immediately turned grim. You mean, the rescue team won't come? Although Lin Feng didn't want to think that way, it was the truth. Think about it. It's been 4 days since the cruise ship accident. Why haven't we seen any helicopters or rescue ships at sea? Lin Feng looked at the 3. You know, once a cruise ship has an accident, they would immediately dispatch helicopters and rescue ships. What do we do now? Song Yinfei was already panicking. Lin Feng smiled slightly and comforted her. Don't worry, as long as we're alive, we will definitely leave this deserted island. No wonder you traded cigarettes for an axe. You plan to live here long term. Lu Yun said calmly. It can't be helped. Just 2 packs of cigarettes. If rescue comes, great. If not, this axe is extremely important. Lin Feng said solemnly. With this axe, he could cut trees, build sturdy wooden houses, and do many other things. After resting for about 20 minutes, the 5 continued on their way upward. Lin Feng, I have another question. Yi Shui asked as they walked. What if the rescue team comes, but can't find us? Lin Feng chuckled. Don't worry, if they find this place. They will definitely send helicopters to search the island. Then we'll light a bonfire, create smoke, and they'll see us. The 3 nodded. They hadn't expected a security guard to think of so many things. After walking for another 2 hours, low shrubs gradually appeared at the foot of the mountain. The seaside here had no reefs, only countless small pits and tidal pools. So-called tidal pools are pools exposed on the beach after the tide recedes. Some fish and other marine life that didn't retreat in time get trapped in the pools and have to wait for the tide to rise to leave. I'm exhausted. When will we find fresh water? Lu Yun sat on the ground, revealing her fair, smooth legs, and shouted while gently tapping them. Yeah, my stomach is growling with hunger. Yi Shui also frowned and said, Big brother, look, doesn't that look like the moon? Su Nannan pointed at the mountain peak ahead and asked with a smile. The others looked and saw that in the middle of the mountain peak, there was a large round hole that went through both sides, like a bright moon. Pretty, like a full moon. Song Yinfei rarely spoke. Come on, let's go check it out. Lin Feng stood up and said, then walked ahead. Song Yinfei and the others had to follow. A few minutes later, They passed through a patch of low shrubs and arrived directly at the foot of the mountain. Looking up at the hole, it was only about 100 meters from the ground. I want to go up and take a look. Lin Feng said, wait for me here. Then he looked for a path up nearby. Fortunately, the slope wasn't too steep. They just had to bend over and climb slowly. In less than half an hour, Lin Feng had climbed to the hole. Some miscellaneous trees grew beside the hole. He pushed them aside and entered. The cave was quite large, but only about 3 meters long, with the other side leading into the mountain. Walking out of the cave, he saw that inside was like a valley surrounded by high cliffs, with an exit in the middle of the cliffs leading inland. In the center of the valley was a flat, grassy area with depressions on both sides. After watching for a while, Lin Feng decided to go down and take a look. Leaving the cave, he walked down the slope for about 10 meters and reached the grass. The depression on the left was a straight slope only about 2 meters high. Below was a patch of green grass. Lin Feng vaguely noticed water flowing inside, so he jumped down the slope, crouched down, and parted the grass, revealing a small stream with a gentle flow. Lin Feng dipped his finger in the stream and tasted it. It's fresh water. Surprised, he looked further in and saw a small patch of green bamboo on the small slope inside. Bamboo. Great. Huh. Discovering bamboo, Lin Feng was as happy as a child because bamboo was extremely useful. Joyfully, he climbed up the straight slope, up to the cave, went outside, and then climbed down the mountain. Hey, look, Lin Feng is coming down. Yishui looked up and saw Lin Feng climbing down. He came down much faster, taking only about 10 minutes. Found it. Found it. As soon as he reached the grass, Lin Feng said happily. The 4 women were confused. What did you find? Lu Yun asked. Lin Feng grinned. Found fresh water, and it's very suitable for building a shelter. You mean we're going to live up there? Yishui exclaimed. Oh, it's hard to explain. You'll see when you go up. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Come on, let's go to the seaside and see if we can catch some fish. Having walked for almost a day, Lin Feng's stomach was already hungry. Arriving by the tidal pools, Lin Feng looked to see if there were any fish. A snake. Suddenly, Song Yinfei pointed at another tidal pool where a sea snake was swimming. Lin Feng walked over to take a look and smiled slightly. Don't be afraid. Although this kind of sea snake is highly venomous, they are very docile. If you don't provoke them, they won't bite you. After more than 10 minutes, Lin Feng speared 2 sea fish and an octopus in the pool, and Su Nannan also caught some small fish in a small puddle. Lu Yun and Yishui caught a few conches and 3 crabs. Although they were not big, they were still meat. They put all the seafood they caught into Yishui's backpack. Arriving at the foot of the mountain, everyone slowly climbed up towards the cave entrance. Oops. Be careful. Song Yinfei slipped and was gently supported on her bottom by Lin Feng from behind. After climbing into the cave, they walked inside and followed Lin Feng down the slope to the grassland. This is nice. I didn't expect there to be a hidden paradise here. Lu Yun looked around and smiled. Everyone go to the nearby grove and gather some firewood. It's getting dark. Lin Feng looked at the sky and said, on an open space next to the bamboo grove, there was a slightly raised mound of earth. The top was relatively dry, so Lin Feng lit a fire in the middle of the mound. Yishui and Lu Yun brought some leaves and spread them on the ground. Lin Feng took an axe and went to the bamboo grove to cut down a bamboo stalk. He used a dagger to cut a circle around the bamboo, pressed it with his knee, and the bamboo broke immediately with a clean break. In the bamboo grove, be careful of a kind of snake called the bamboo viper, which is highly venomous. It is entirely green, very similar to the color of bamboo, so sometimes you might not notice it even when you touch it. He cut 2 bamboo tubes and took them to the stream, where he cleared away the green grass around the stream. He dug a pit in the sand in the middle of the stream. After a while, the water in the pit became crystal clear. Lin Feng filled the bamboo tubes with water and brought them back to the campfire. Although the stream water is very clear, that doesn't mean it can be drunk directly. It still needs to be boiled. By then, the sun was almost setting, and the last rays of sunlight shone on the top of the cliff. Lin Feng placed the 2 bamboo tubes in the fire to boil, and also put some bamboo needles in. Why put bamboo needles in? Watching Lin Feng's operation, Song Yinfei was a bit puzzled. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Don't you know that bamboo needles can be used to make tea? Song Yinfei shook her head upon hearing this. How would she know? Even at the office, it was her secretary who made tea for her. While there was time, Lin Feng also used the dagger to make a few bamboo cups. After the water boiled, it could be poured into the bamboo cups to drink. Oh no, it's burnt. Su Nannan was roasting a fish, and the fish was already charred black. It's okay, you can eat this fish later. Lu Yun smiled slightly. Soon, the water in the bamboo tubes boiled. Lin Feng quickly picked them up and poured the water into the bamboo cups. Although it was a bit hot, he still poured all the water in. Not bad. It has a hint of bamboo fragrance. Lu Yun picked up the cup, took a sip, and nodded with a smile. Being able to drink a cup of hot tea here is quite nice. Yishui smiled slightly. The sun was setting, and the sky was gradually darkening. In less than half an hour, it would be completely dark. Lin Feng and the other four were sitting on the ground eating roasted fish and conchas. Night fell, and the temperature began to drop. Lin Feng opened the box, took out the two coats, and handed them to Song Yinfei and Lu Yun. Song Yinfei draped the coat over herself and held Su Nannan, while Lu Yun and Yi Shui shared the other coat. After walking all day, the four were already exhausted. After nightfall, they lay directly on the ground to rest. Lin Feng looked around. It was pitch black. He tried to keep the campfire burning brightly so that the surrounding temperature would be warmer. At the bay, Lu Hu, Fan Tianda, and Zhao Ming sat by the campfire, looking listless. Brother Lu, Man In-I, and Hong Tao seemed to be sick, caused by diarrhea. It seems they drank too much coconut water. Fan Tianda said, "What should we do now?" Lu Hu held a branch, constantly drawing on the ground, and said, "No wonder Lin Feng left here." He also knew that relying solely on coconut water wouldn't work. "It seems we have to leave here too." "Leave here? What if rescue comes?" Zhao Ming asked. "Rescue? Do you think rescue will still come?" Lu Hu glared at Zhao Ming. Lin Feng traded cigarettes for an axe. He knew long ago that rescue wouldn't come. "Then what should we do now?" Zhao Ming quickly asked. Lu Hu lowered his head and thought, "Tomorrow we have to leave here too, to find a place with fresh water. If we continue like this, everyone will get sick in less than 2 days. Then where do we go?" "Up there. I must find that bastard Lin Feng." Lu Hu gritted his teeth. Ever since Song Yinfei and the other three left, he had been feeling a bit down. Even if he couldn't go back, he wanted to possess these women. He wanted to establish his own kingdom on this deserted island. Thinking of this, he immediately became excited and thrilled. Yes, find him, catch him, then slowly torture him. That way, Yinfei, Lu Yun, and the others will be ours. Hee hee. Fan Tianda rubbed his chin and snickered. Zhao Ming's eyes also gleamed. He had long coveted Lu Yun. Thinking of her voluptuous, devilish figure, he felt hot all over. At night, the moon came out, casting silver moonlight over the entire island. The next morning, Lu Hu and his group packed up the camp and headed upward. At that time, Lin Feng and the other 5 also got up. After drinking a cup of hot tea, Lin Feng went to the bamboo grove to cut bamboo. "Lin Feng, what should we do next?" Song Yinfei and the other 2 came over and asked. "We'll build a shelter on the grassland above. It's a bit damp here, not suitable for living." Lin Feng said, "After I cut the bamboo, I'll go find food." Then, Lin Feng cut bamboo, while Song Yinfei and the other 2 dragged the bamboo to the steep slope and stood them up one by one. Su Nannan went to the opposite woods to gather firewood. An hour later, dozens of bamboo stalks were piled up at the steep slope. Climbing up the slope, the 4 carried the bamboo to the middle of the grassland. The grassland was large, looking to be over 200 square meters. Lin Feng sharpened the bamboo with the axe so they could dig holes in the grassland. As for Lu Yun and the others, they did whatever Lin Feng said. They dug 6 holes and buried 6 bamboo poles 2 meters long. Thus, the 6 pillars were done. Lin Feng shaved some bamboo strips and placed 3 horizontal bamboo poles on the 6 pillars at the top, middle, and bottom, tying them tightly with the strips. You just need to forcefully insert the pointed end of the bamboo into the grass, then place the bamboo side by side on these horizontal bars. Lin Feng pointed to the horizontal bamboo and said, "Then use the bamboo strips to thread through the gaps and tie them tight." Lin Feng demonstrated once while speaking. Lu Yun and the others nodded. It was all about visual learning, easy to pick up. Be careful when using the bamboo strips. They are very sharp. Lin Feng continued. "Leave an opening in the middle for the door." "All right, we understand." Yishui nodded gently. "Big brother, come quick. I've gathered a lot of firewood." Su Nannan shouted from the steep slope. "You guys bring the firewood up. I'm going to find food." Lin Feng said and left, walking up the slope. Entering the cave and looking towards the sea, it was high tide, so going down would be useless. So he returned to the grassland. "What's wrong? Weren't you going to find food?" Seeing Lin Feng come back, Yishui asked. "The tide is in, and the tidal pools are submerged, so I plan to look outside." Lin Feng pointed to the exit of the valley. "Be careful," Lu Yun said. Lin Feng nodded slightly, walked to the right edge of the grassland, and went down the slope. After descending more than 20 meters, he reached the valley floor. Then he walked several dozen meters to the exit. From the grassland, the exit didn't seem very wide, but as he approached, it became very broad. As soon as Lin Feng walked out of the exit, he saw many dark brown thatch growing on both sides. A dense expanse. In the grassy area, there were many freshly upturned mounds of dirt and numerous messy footprints. Lin Feng crouched down to examine them and murmured, "These are wild boar footprints. It seems wild boars often come here to dig up grass roots." Leaving the grassy area, ahead lay a vast forest with sparse tall trees and complex terrain. Lin Feng slowly walked into the forest, constantly alert to his surroundings. Coo coo coo. As soon as he entered, he heard pleasant bird calls. He took out his dagger and cut a branch to use as a long staff. Because there were many spider webs on the bushes, Lin Feng had to swing the staff left and right as he walked. The bushes were dense, visibility was low, and the uneven ground made walking difficult. One misstep could cause a fall, and there were many moss-covered stones. Lin Feng found a stone to sit on, took out a cigarette, and lit it. As he smoked, he saw a few birds hopping around in the bushes. Beside him were several tall pine trees, so thick that one person couldn't wrap their arms around them. On the ground were some pine cones and a thick layer of pine needles. Two squirrels on a branch stared at him. They seemed curious about this foreign creature. A pheasant? Suddenly, a beautiful figure appeared in the bushes, a pheasant searching for food. The pheasant was very beautiful, colorful, with bright feathers and a long, gorgeous tail. Lin Feng knew it was impossible to catch it with his bare hands. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Suddenly, more pheasant calls came from the forest outside. The pheasant in the bushes turned and disappeared into the thicket. It seemed there were quite a few pheasants in the forest, Lin Feng thought. After finishing his cigarette, he stood up and walked deeper into the forest. Sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves above. After walking for over 10 minutes, he came to a small slope where broad-leaved plants and ferns grew. The roots of those ferns had also been dug up by wild boars. Going down the slope, Lin Feng discovered a river about 2 to 3 meters wide, not very deep, up to his calves, with many small stones on the riverbed. Lin Feng walked to the riverbank, crouched down, and washed his face. The river water was quite cold. Suddenly, two yellow figures flashed past in the bushes not far ahead. Lin Feng thought he might have seen things. He quickly stood up, bent over, and walked quietly to a large tree, where he lay down to observe the bushes. Soon, the two figures reappeared in his view. Two deer. When he saw them clearly, he was thrilled to find they were a large and a small deer, eating tender leaves from the bushes. Lin Feng's heart raced with excitement. If he could catch one, it would be enough to feed them for 2 or 3 days. Suddenly, Lin Feng lay down and crawled backward into the bushes, where he cut 2 vines with his dagger. Then he tied the dagger to the long staff, making a spear. He found 2 dense bushes and crouched between them, effectively camouflaging himself. He held the spear ready, waiting for the deer to approach so he could throw it and deliver a fatal blow. Time passed minute by minute. Lin Feng remained motionless, even when 2 caterpillars fell on him. He didn't care. After about 10 minutes, the 2 deer appeared, slowly walking toward him. They were only about 10 meters away, but Lin Feng felt it wasn't the right time yet. 8 meters, 6 meters. Whoosh. When they were 6 meters away, Lin Feng threw the spear. Thud. The spear struck the larger deer under the neck. It immediately turned and ran. The smaller one had already disappeared. Lin Feng stood up and chased after it, but the wounded deer was already out of sight. He followed the blood trail slowly. Sure enough, after chasing for 50 or 60 meters, he saw the deer lying on some weeds. When he approached, the deer was already dead. The spear was still stuck in it, so Lin Feng pulled it out. The deer wasn't very big, weighing about 60 or 70 pounds. Lin Feng didn't dare stay long, afraid of attracting other carnivores. He quickly carried the deer on his back and returned the way he came. In the valley, Lu Yun and the others had already fenced off the area around the bamboo hut, leaving only the middle part open. The hut was over 3 meters wide, 5 meters long, and 2 meters high, enough for the 5 of them to sleep inside. They had also stacked the firewood Su Nan Nan had collected on the left side of the grass. "When will Big Brother be back?" "I'm starving," Su Nan Nan said, lying on the grass with a bamboo needle in her mouth, staring at the sky. "Hunting isn't that easy. He might not be back until afternoon," Yishua said. "Hey, how about we go to the beach? Maybe we can catch some fish." Lu Yun looked at Song Yanfei and the others. Yishua pointed at the sky. "Look, it was sunny just now, but now it's getting dark, there are clouds, and the wind is strong." There might be a typhoon later. It's dangerous to go to the beach now. If we get blown into the sea, we're done for. Song Yinfei also looked at the sky and said, the weather here changes quickly. Let's wait for Lin Feng to come back. As they were chatting, Lin Feng was carrying the deer back to the grassy area. Su Nannan walked to the edge of the grass and saw Lin Feng coming up. Big brother is back. He's carrying something. Su Nannan shouted happily. Song Yinfei and the others also ran over. Yi Shui was surprised. He caught a deer. When Lin Feng reached the grass and put the deer down, the four of them crouched down in amazement to look at it. How did you catch it? Yi Shui asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled slightly. I found it in the forest, ambushed it, and caught it. That's simple. Yi Shui asked doubtfully. Don't talk about it now. Let's process it quickly. The weather is about to change, Lu Yun said hastily. Lin Feng nodded, dragged the deer to the slope, jumped down, and carried it to the small forest opposite the bamboo grove. He hung the deer on a tree and began to skin it. The deerskin could keep them warm, so Lin Feng wanted to remove it whole. Song Yinfei and the others dug a pit with bamboo pieces at the site of last night's fire. After skinning, Lin Feng cut off 2 hind legs with the axe, picked some large leaves, and brought them back to the pit. He lined the pit with leaves, placed the legs inside, covered them with more leaves, and then covered them with soil. Are you afraid of getting dirty? Lin Feng asked the 3. I'm not, Yi Shui said. Then come and clean the innards, Lin Feng said with a smile. Yi Shui handled the innards while Song Yinfei and Lu Yun roasted the 2 front legs. The fire was built directly above the buried hind legs, so by evening, they would be cooked through. Lin Feng set aside the rest of the meat and took Su Nannan to the grassy area. Big brother, why are we here? Su Nannan asked. To cut grass. It's cold at night, and sleeping on grass will be warmer, Lin Feng said with a smile. He took out his dagger and began cutting grass. After more than 10 minutes, a patch of grass was cut. They each carried a bundle of grass back to the meadow. Looking at the sky, dark clouds were gathering. It might rain tonight, so Lin Feng started building a roof. He split bamboo with the axe, used a stick to hollow out the nodes, then placed 3 bamboo poles horizontally across the bamboo roof and tied them securely. Finally, he placed bamboo strips alternately on the poles and fastened them with bamboo ties. After more than an hour, Lin Feng finally finished the roof. Oh, I'm exhausted. Su Nannan had gone back and forth 4 times to bring all the thatch back, and she lay directly on the thatch and shouted. At this moment, Song Yinfei came to the slope holding a roasted front leg and called out, Nannan, Lin Feng, come eat the deer leg. Auntie, I'm coming. Su Nannan shouted happily and quickly ran over to take the deer leg. Big brother, time to eat. Su Nannan handed the leg to Lin Feng with a smile. Lin Feng patted her head and said with a smile, you eat first. I'll eat after I finish my work. Upon hearing this, Su Nannan happily took the deer leg and ran to the grass nearby, sitting down to eat. Lin Feng spread the thatch on the roof and tied it with bamboo strips to prevent the roof from leaking. Seeing that the bamboo house was finished, Lin Feng smiled contentedly. Big brother, I'm full. Here you go. Su Nannan ran over and handed the deer leg to Lin Feng. Lin Feng took it and ate slowly. The taste is okay, but it would be better with salt. Lin Feng, how do you cook these innards? At this moment, Yi Shui shouted from below the slope. Upon hearing this, Lin Feng turned around and walked to the slope, jumped down, and followed Yi Shui to the campfire. He went to the bamboo grove, cut a bamboo pole, and made several bamboo tubes. Fill them halfway with water, put the cleaned and cut innards into the bamboo tubes, and then put the tubes into the fire to cook. Lin Feng said to the 3, what about the meat? Song Yinfei pointed to the deer meat beside her and asked. Lin Feng smiled slightly and said, you 3 are responsible for roasting all this meat. I have other things to do. Then go ahead and take care of your business. With us 3 heroines here, you can rest assured. Lu Yun waved at Lin Feng and smiled. Lin Feng smiled, handed the dagger to Yi Shui, turned around, and walked toward the grass. Wow, this dagger is really beautiful. It must be worth a lot. Lu Yun took the dagger and looked at it, shocked. Song Yinfei looked at the dagger and nodded. Indeed, the dragon and phoenix patterns are exquisitely carved. It doesn't seem like modern craftsmanship. Are you saying this dagger is an antique? Lu Yun asked in surprise. Song Yinfei shook her head with a bitter smile. I don't know. If we were in Zhonghai, I could have someone check it. Whether it's an antique or not, as long as it works. Yi Shui smiled slightly. As she spoke, she cut the cleaned innards into small pieces and put them into the bamboo tubes. Lin Feng returned to the grass and called Su Nannan to move the cut bamboo poles. about 2 meters long, into the house. Then, inside the house, he placed 3 bamboo poles horizontally near the left bamboo wall, and then placed the other bamboo poles vertically on top of the horizontal ones. Then he used bamboo strips to weave back and forth between the bamboo poles to tie them together, thus making a bamboo bed. Then he did the same on the right side, following the left side. Nan, you can bring all the thatch from outside in now. Lin Feng called out to Su Nan. Okay. Upon hearing this, Su Nan immediately ran out and brought all the thatch inside. Lin Feng twisted the thatch a few times, tied it into bundles, and placed them on the bamboo bed so the thatch wouldn't scatter. Then he spread another layer of thatch on top, making it soft to lie on. Wow, so comfortable. Finally, I have a bed to sleep on, Su Nan lay down directly, swaying left and right, laughing happily. A space of about 1 meter wide was left in the middle, where a fire could be lit at night. Lin Feng knew that to sleep comfortably, there was still a lot to do, but time was running short now, because it was about to rain. However, he could make improvements later. After finishing these tasks, Lin Feng took out a cigarette and lit it. Next, he still had to make a bamboo door. Big brother, have some water. Su Nan came over with a mineral water bottle and said with a smile, when you went out, we poured the boiled water into the mineral water bottles. Not bad, very clever. Lin Feng took a sip and smiled. After finishing the cigarette, Lin Feng and Su Nan used bamboo pieces to dig a groove above the house, because the grass sloped slightly downward. Once it rained, rainwater would flow down the grass, and thus into the house. With this groove, the rainwater would flow along the groove to both sides. After digging the groove, Lin Feng took the axe and went to the bamboo grove. How's it going? Not roasted yet. Lin Feng walked over and asked. Not that fast. There are still 2 pieces. Yi Shui said. Lin Feng smiled and nodded, then took the axe and walked into the small forest. This small forest grew on the slope below the cliff. Perhaps due to insufficient nutrients or other reasons, the trees didn't grow tall, only as thick as a calf. Lin Feng didn't care about that. He raised his axe and started chopping. In about half an hour, he had cut down more than a dozen trees. There were also some parasitic vines growing inside. He cut them down and used them as ropes to tie up the cut trees. He carried them to the slope and threw them directly onto the grass. After 3 trips, he had placed all the trees on the grass. Lin Feng, why are you cutting so many trees? Song Yinfei asked, puzzled. To burn, of course. Lin Feng smiled slightly. All right, you 3 go up to the bamboo house to continue roasting. Don't roast here anymore. Okay, Yinfei, let's pack up. Luyan stood up and said. After the 3 packed up and returned to the slope, Lin Feng climbed up first, then pulled them up one by one. Hey, not bad. Entering the house, they saw the 2 bamboo beds on the left and right, covered with thatch, which surprised them. Of course, big brother and I made them together, hee. Su Nan raised her face and said proudly. Oh my, our Nan is amazing. Luyan touched her face and smiled. Not bad, it's quite comfortable to lie on. Yi Shui sat down and smiled. No more sleeping on the ground. You guys bring the firewood inside and start the fire to roast the meat. I'll go check on the braised deer leg. After saying that, Lin Feng went to the campfire, took a look, and then built up a strong fire. He knew it would need to braise until evening at least, hoping it wouldn't rain too soon. In the afternoon, around 3 o'clock, dark clouds gathered over the distant sea, covering the sky. The sea was rough, with huge waves. The dark clouds were slowly drifting toward the island. Everyone run faster. A heavy storm is coming. Lu Hu urged everyone to run forward. Lu Hu and his 10 people ran desperately along the coastline. The sea wind blew so hard they could barely open their eyes. At this moment, they happened to pass by Moon Mountain, where Lin Feng lived. An hour later, Lu Hu and his group finally found a path up the mountain and ran desperately into the mountains. After running for more than 10 minutes and turning several corners, they arrived in a ravine with high mountains on both sides. Brother Lu, there's a cave over there. Hurry. Everyone, quickly get into the cave. Running into the cave, the space inside was quite spacious and relatively dry, but the ground was covered with bat droppings and some animal bones. Everyone, don't rest yet. Go out and find firewood first. Otherwise, it will be troublesome if it rains. Seeing Fan Tianda and the others leaning against the wall, Lu Hu quickly shouted. Upon hearing this, everyone immediately ran out of the cave and searched for dead wood among the nearby rocks. Suddenly, Manny held her forehead and fell to the ground, looking somewhat pained. Manny, are you okay? Come, let me help you back to the cave. Yang Jun quickly ran over and helped Manny back into the cave. Lu Hu also cut some leaves and cleaned the cave. Brother Lu, come help. Fan Tianda and Zhao Meng carried back a dead log as thick as a thigh and over 3 meters long. In the valley, Lin Feng had just installed the bamboo door when the sky suddenly darkened. Why did it get dark so fast? Yishui quickly ran out and asked. Not good, Lin Feng said urgently. You 3 carry these 3 bundles of firewood into the house, and also bring the deer skin inside. I'll go get the deer leg. Lin Feng ran to the edge of the grass, jumped down the slope, ran to the dirt mound, used a stick to scrape away the soil on top, and soon grabbed 2 deer legs and left. Here, give it to me. Song Yinfei reached out her hands on the grass and said. Lin Feng immediately handed the deer leg to her and climbed up. Rumble, crash, a clap of thunder, and in an instant, a torrential downpour began. At this moment, daytime seemed like night, pitch black outside. Lin Feng hugged 3 2-meter-long bamboo poles and ran back into the house, quickly closing the bamboo door. Lin Feng, is this house sturdy? Lu Yin looked at the house with some concern. It's fine, as long as there's no strong wind. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Adding some firewood to the campfire, he picked up an axe and chopped the freshly cut wood into pieces, stacking them beside the fire like a well, so they could dry out. Here, have a cigarette to calm your nerves, hee. Lin Feng took out a pack of cigarettes, pulled one out, and handed it to Lu Yun with a smile. He lit one himself. Not bad. With such heavy rain, the roof doesn't leak. Yishui looked up at the roof and smiled slightly. Huh, who do you think built the roof? Hee. Lin Feng exhaled a puff of smoke and chuckled. Lin Feng, I didn't know you were so skilled. It seems coming to you was the right choice. Lu Yun also exhaled smoke and smiled. Otherwise, we might still be out in the rain now. In the rain? Huh. Lin Feng glanced at the pitch black outside and chuckled. If you got caught in this rain, it would be hard to survive until the next day. In a heavy rain like this, once a person gets wet, their body temperature drops rapidly. They might not make it to the next morning before dying of hypothermia. I told you earlier that Big Brother is very good at wilderness survival, but you didn't believe me. Su Nannan said while lying on the bed. Yeah, Nannan really has an eye for people. Song Yinfei smiled slightly. With the rain, the temperature dropped quickly. Su Nannan quickly took out 2 coats. After finishing his cigarette, Lin Feng used the axe to split the 3 bamboo poles, then split the bamboo strips into small pieces as thick as fingers. Then he took out his dagger and slowly shaved thin bamboo strips. Lu Yun sat opposite, her eyes on Lin Feng, the corners of her mouth slightly raised. Meanwhile, Song Yinfei, Su Nannan, and Yishui lay on the bed, covered with coats, and slowly fell asleep. Lu Yun was curious. Many men, upon seeing her, would show a desire and look to possess her, but Lin Feng was different. He seemed indifferent to her. Lin Feng took 2 harder bamboo strips and slowly began weaving with the thin bamboo strips in the middle. After nearly an hour, a bamboo basket was woven, and he also carved a few pairs of chopsticks, exactly 1 pair per person. I didn't expect you to have this skill. Lu Yin smiled slightly and took the bamboo basket to look at it. Lin Feng took out another cigarette, and they both smoked again. There are many things you wouldn't expect, hee. Lin Feng said with a smile. Then I'll wait and see. Lu Yun smiled slightly, her eyes looking at Lin Feng as if they could spark. Soon, Lin Feng felt hungry. He put 2 bamboo tubes containing the organs into the fire to heat, as the organs had already cooled down. Lu Yun also brought a deer leg to roast. At this moment, Su Nannan and the other 2 slowly woke up. Outside was still pitch black, and it was unclear whether it was already night. The rain was still falling, but not as heavily as at the beginning. Is it still raining? Yishui, just waking up, rubbed her eyes and murmured. Come, have something to eat. Lin Feng used chopsticks to pull the organs out of the bamboo tube and put them into a bamboo cup, pouring a little soup in. Although the soup was bland, in the cold night, a few sips could warm the body a bit. Lu Yun took the dagger and cut pieces of meat from the deer leg. Tomorrow, I'll take you to catch wild chickens, okay? Lin Feng took a bite of meat and looked at the 4 of them. How do we catch them? We don't know how. Yishui spoke up. Lin Feng swallowed the meat and smiled. I'll teach you how to set snares. Once set, the day after tomorrow morning we'll check if we've caught anything. Where do we set them? Lu Yun quickly asked, seeming quite interested. Of course, in the woods. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll take you there. Okay, it's settled. Lu Yun nodded with a smile. Su Nannan also looked at Lin Feng with sparkling eyes, full of curiosity about everything unknown. After eating, Song Yinfei picked up the basket beside her and looked at Lin Feng. Did you make this? Lin Feng nodded slightly. I wove it while you were sleeping. Can you teach me next time? Song Yinfei asked with a smile. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Don't worry, whenever I have time, I'll teach you how to weave. Song Yinfei smiled happily upon hearing this. Lin Feng was momentarily stunned by her beautiful and charming smile. Late at night, the rain stopped, the dark clouds dispersed, and the moon hung in the sky. The next morning, early in the morning, the sun was bright. After the heavy rain last night, the entire valley was filled with fresh air. Lin Feng, didn't you say you'd teach us to set snares? Are we going now? Walking onto the grass, Lu Yun looked at Lin Feng and asked. Lin Feng added 2 half-wet logs to the campfire to keep it from going out. Let's go in the afternoon. It just rained heavily last night, and the woods are still wet everywhere. Lin Feng came out and replied. Yi Shui heard this and said, Then what do we do in the morning? After the rain, the slope outside is very slippery, and we can't go to the seaside. Lin Feng said calmly. In the morning, we'll just stay here. Wait for me here. I'm going to cut some bamboo. After speaking, he walked toward the steep slope, jumped down, and went into the bamboo grove. This place is too high. If we could level it, we wouldn't have to jump up and down all the time. Yi Shui said by the steep slope. That's simple. Later, we can remove the turf and use bamboo to dig out the soil. Lu Yun said lightly. A few minutes later, Lin Feng dragged bamboo over, and Yi Shui and the other two pulled the bamboo up. More than 10 minutes later, Lin Feng came back carrying a bundle of wood. After climbing up, Lin Feng used the axe to sharpen one end of a branch without forks and stuck it into the grass. Lin Feng, we want to dig up that steep slope so we don't have to keep jumping up and down. Yi Shui came over and said. Lin Feng pointed to the bamboo beside him. Take the bamboo and jump down. Just hollow out the soil in the middle. These bamboo poles have sharp ends, so you can easily dig out the soil. It rained last night, so the soil is moist and easier to dig. Yi Shui walked over, picked up 3 bamboo poles, and with Lu Yun and Song Yanfei, jumped down the steep slope and began digging in the middle. Su Nannan ran down to a wider spot above the stream, pushed the grass aside to reveal a small sandy area, and dug a hole in the sand with her hands, letting the stream water flow into the hole. Lin Feng stuck 4 forked branches into the grass, secured 2 short bamboo poles into the forks, then placed several 2-meter-long bamboo poles horizontally on top and tied them tightly. A long bench was made. Song Yanfei and the others loosened the soil and dug it out with their hands, quickly making a large hole. Lin Feng, come over and step on it from above to see if it collapses. Yi Shui called up to him. Lin Feng came over with the axe, cut the grass roots, and stomped hard, causing the top to collapse. Just dig a little lower. Lin Feng looked and said. After speaking, he returned to the house and made a second bench. By then, Lu Yun and the others had dug through the steep slope, so they could walk straight up. Come on, let's wash our hands. My clothes are covered in mud. Look, my Chong Sam is all muddy. The 3 went to the hole Su Nannan had dug, washed clean, and also rinsed their clothes. After making the bench, Lin Feng went to the slope, which was covered with gravel. Soon, Lin Feng found 3 gray-black stones. They were smooth and without cracks. He brought them back to the grass, placed them on bamboo mats, and gently broke them with the axe. The stones shattered into several small pieces. Lin Feng picked out 2 good pieces and set them aside, then broke the other 2 stones. Big brother, what are you doing? Su Nannan ran over, crouched down, and asked curiously. Lin Feng smiled slightly, carefully picked up the stone pieces on the ground, and laughed. You'll see in a moment. Carrying the stones to the stream, he looked for more stones. Big brother, what are you looking for? Su Nannan followed behind and asked. Stones. Lin Feng said, I'm looking for a big stone. Upon hearing this, Su Nannan immediately ran towards the bamboo forest, and after a while, she came back carrying a big stone. Nannan, where did you find it? Lin Feng looked at the stone in surprise. The surface of the stone was smooth, like a whetstone. Hee. Su Nannan grinned. I dug it up when I was digging a sand pit. Sand pit. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment, then looked up and saw Lu Yun and the other 2 showing off their tempting fair long legs, washing the mud off their feet in a puddle. Especially Song Yanfei's long legs, so white and straight, Lin Feng couldn't take his eyes off them. Big brother, my aunt's legs are beautiful, right? Su Nannan said with a mischievous smile. Ahem. What does a kid know? Give me the stone. Lin Feng quickly averted his gaze, took the stone from Su Nannan, and placed it on the ground. He squatted down and slowly sharpened the sharp small stones on the stone. I'm not a kid. I'm 19 years old this year. Su Nannan pouted and muttered. but she had a delicate baby face. So many people thought she was still underage when they saw her. Lin Feng ground the stones into arrowhead shapes, very sharp, and carved 2 small grooves on both sides of the tail so that they could be tied to the arrow shafts. Half an hour later, Lin Feng had ground 8 small stones into sharp arrowheads. Returning to the grass, Lin Feng sat on a stool, found a relatively old and tough bamboo, and split it with an axe, then slowly shaved it with a dagger. Nan, go get the nylon rope from the box. Is it that pretty rope? Yes. After a while, Su Nan came out with a bundle of thin nylon rope. This bundle of thin nylon rope, when unrolled, was dozens of meters long. Lin Feng shaved 2 bamboo strips, carving grooves at both ends of each. Then he slowly wrapped the nylon rope around the 2 bamboo strips, all the way to the ends. This kind of combined bow had great toughness and elasticity, and its power was also astonishing. He cut 3 nylon ropes and braided them together, forming a very good bowstring. Nylon rope was already very tough, and braiding 3 into 1 made it even more so. He slowly bent the wrapped bamboo strips, then tied the braided nylon rope to both ends. A bow was made. Next came making arrows. Big brother, are you making a bow and arrow? Su Nan picked up the bow and asked. Yeah. Lin Feng smiled slightly. To catch prey, you can't do it with bare hands. At this moment, Lu Yun and the other 2 also came back. Lin Feng, your stool is way too casual, isn't it? Lu Yun walked over and sat down, saying, it's really uncomfortable on the butt. It's good enough to have a seat. Yishui sat down and smiled slightly. Lin Feng just smiled without saying a word, then took another bamboo and started making arrows. I'm hungry. Let's go back and reheat the deer meat we roasted yesterday. Yishui rubbed her stomach and stood up. Hearing about food, Su Nan quickly followed into the house.